Hello everyone, I'm Brian. Today I'm writing to Yalda, Hakim with Sadhguru on religion, politics, and human society. So this might be a 2 or 3 parter, depends on how much I blabber my mouth. Let's go ahead and get started.
Seldom do we see this number of people turn out to one of these events queuing for hours beforehand. But that really comes down to the power of Sadhguru and the visionary that he is. He obviously needs no introduction. As you know, he's a mystic, a visionary, a yogi, a teacher, a humanitarian, and someone that we can all learn something about how we live life. Just earlier, we were speaking in the green room about some of the atrocities and some of the things that have happened over the last few weeks and the sorts of things that we witness on a daily basis. And the kind of conversations that we were having in there, I realized just how little I know about living and life and how much there is to learn from him. So I hope that you find tonight, in a way, something that you can take away from his words of wisdom. So I'll pass it on to Sadhguru.
Jananam sukadham maranam karunam milanam maduram smaranam karunam कालवशादिहा सकलं करुणं समयाद्यपते अखिलं करुणम्. Good evening. Good evening, everyone.
Sadhguru, can you tell us a little bit about that chant and what it means?
I was actually going to ask that.
Well, I'm just not going by the word meaning, but the overall meaning would be, birth is a certain pleasure and joy, but death is compassion. When you have lived enough, the relief of death is fantastic. The worst thing that could happen to you is that suppose you have to live forever. And what we are calling as birth and death is just a certain amount of time and a certain amount of energy in play. Time-wise, no matter who you are, what you are, for all of us, time is rolling away at the same pace. There's nothing you can do about it. You can't hold back a day. You can't hold back a minute. But our life energies are in our hands. If we take charge of this, then in a certain way, we have mastery over time. If your experience of life, by taking charge of your energies, you make it very intense, then how you live, if you live here for a year, it may feel like you live here for 100 years because of the sheer intensity of your existence.
I just got one of the phrases he just said. Hold on. I never really thought about it this way until just now. I don't know if I got it right, but this is how I understood it. It made so much sense. Let me go back real quick. If your experience of life, by taking charge of your energy, you make it very… Hold on, is that the right one? Oh, here we go. If we take charge of this, then in a certain way we have mastery over time. That phrase right there, all of a sudden… Now, I don't know if I got it right, let me know. I'm curious as to what your thoughts on this is too, and to see whether you got it right as well, or whether you already knew or not. But for me, I've always heard it, but It's always been like, oh, so you can live forever in a sense. But to me now, this makes more sense whenever I think of it this way. If you take charge of this, then in a certain way we have mastery over time. Meaning that, and especially he explains it afterwards about if you live for a year, it may feel like you have lived for 100 years. So if you have mastery over your energies, you living for 30 days, 1 year, 30 years, 100 years would be all the same, roughly. And what it means essentially is that because you have taken charge of your body, your mind, your energies, that you got everything that you wanted done, and then death happens. Whether that's everything done in 30 days, everything done in 1 year, everything done in 30 years or 100 years. But if you master your energies, you will have fulfilled your I want to say your duties. That's not right, but you fulfilled your life in a sense. Yes, fulfilled your life. So when you have mastery over your energies, no matter how long you live, you have essentially mastery over time, because you would have done everything that you wanted to do in however time frame that you have, and in a sense, once you are done, you can finally go away. I don't know what the right phrase is. That is, finally pass away, because you have done everything that you needed to do, which is a lot of people can't do in their lifetime. But if you can do everything that you need to do in your lifetime, then you have mastery over time, because there's nothing else to do but to now rest, in a sense. I wonder if that makes sense to people. I wonder if that's the way it's meant to be interpreted, because, a lot of people say, oh, you have mastery over time, that means you can control time, that means you can live forever. It's not really that way, because you see it right here. If you take charge of this, that in a certain way we have mastery over time. It's not to say that you live forever, but to say that you have achieved everything that you wanted to do within the time frame of your life. I believe that's how I interpreted it. It makes a lot of sense, because you're not wasting your life. You're not wasting your energies on useless and unproductive. Well, production's a bit different, but using your energies to the maximum abilities that you're capable of. And then when time comes, you have already used, I guess you could say, when time comes, that's when it is time, in a sense. I just repeated myself. But essentially, it's just saying that when the time is up, you have already done everything that you wanted to do. When time is up, time is up.
And also in terms of activity, if you organize your energies well, what somebody may do in 10 years, you may do it in 1 year.
There you go.
So in terms of impact, if you live 100 years, you will live 1,000 years. So essentially, we're talking about organizing that we can organize and coming to terms with that which we cannot organize. This is where the equilibrium of life is.
You just said the worst thing that can happen is if you live forever. But what if that death is then imposed on you? So I go back to what happened on Easter Sunday in Sri Lanka, and the attacks on various churches across Colombo, where 310 people were killed. I mean, what goes through your mind when you see this, some would say, level of evil inflicted on man by man?
And honestly, that's a very difficult thing. Obviously you cannot control other people. You cannot control. I don't know. I'm kind of curious of what Sadhguru says here, but you cannot control a lot of things in life. You can only control yourself. You can control. Now you can't even control your own health to some degree. You can eat healthy. You can exercise, but you can go to the doctor. You can get medication, prescriptions. But when it's time, it's time. That is something that you cannot control, whether it be external or internal forces. But like Sadhguru said, if you've lived your life to the fullest, then no matter at what time you go, you would have at least done how do I say this part? I say you have at least fulfilled your time. Because at any moment, it's really weird to say this. At any moment, you can go and you have feel fulfilled. It's really weird to say that because, like, well, what, are you saying that you can fulfill your energies now? You can go right now and you'll be perfectly happy. But what if you had 5 more years? If you fulfilled it now, what are you going to do with those 5 years? You've already done fulfilled it. But it's not as simple as that though. When you say you fulfill your energies, essentially, what I believe it means by having your energies at essentially the maximum and being fulfilled is the fact that it's every single day that you've done everything that you can to fulfill your duties, to fulfill your, I want to say desires. That's not really the right thing. To be the best human you can be, so that while you may go in 30 seconds, 10 years, 100 years, you've always, by day basis, have always fulfilled. Essentially, you've been the best human you can be by doing everything that you could have done through those days, so that no matter when you go, you have always fulfilled your part, I suppose. But that's I I didn't hear anything about that. That's very terrible. I mean, it happens in America too, but that's a lot though. I'm curious to what happened. But either way, again, this is something that we have to realize in life. No matter where you are in the world, crazy stuff happens, crazy people exist. And it's I don't. It's sad to say that you have to be ready, but you really do. And hope that you've lived your life to the fullest, regardless of when you went, whenever you have to go.
Oh, we must understand, evil has always been inflicted only by one man upon another man, never by some other forces. It never happened like that. No hand jumped out of the sky and did any evil to anybody ever in the history of humanity. It's always one person doing something horrible to another person. This could be done for economic reasons, this could be done because of egoistic reasons, this could be done because of wealth, property, so many things. But if we have a fight for something, let's say we are fighting for this flower vase, you and me. At some point if we fight enough, either some wisdom will arise in you or me and say, okay, you keep it, but I don't want this nonsense going on forever. It'll come somewhere. But when people believe that they're fighting for their gods, there is no compromise. This is what we need to understand. You cannot compromise when you're fighting for your god. If it's property, I'll give it away. But I'm fighting for something about which there is no question of compromise. So we need to understand this. It's not when events happen like this, terrible events like this happen, everybody for a few days they will feel all this and then they'll go about their normal business. We must understand the moment you believe something and I believe something else, it's just a question of time when we are going to kill each other. Maybe we will, or maybe our children will, or maybe their children will, but it's bound to happen. When you believe something, when you believe means just this, what you do not know you assume and you concretize this assumption in your minds and you gather numbers. If there's 1,000 people here, all believe one thing. And when we step out on the street, if they all believe something else, inevitably there's going to be a clash. It's just a question of time.
I will say this though, a little bit of a counter to Sadhguru is saying here. Now the belief, yes, I do agree with them all, and a lot of sentiment in terms of beliefs, but also there can be a belief of, I don't know, of being a good human being. The problem is that the sad truth of the matter is that there's no belief in being a good human being. And there is, but it's nothing like how religion has has cemented it. Concretized? That's not a word, but has cemented it, and it's like very organized because there's no church of being good human being where you don't believe in a god, but you just believe in good human beings that you want to achieve to be a good human being. So it's not very organized in that sense. But like I guess you could have a belief in a nation and hope that the nation is something that achieves to be a peaceful nation. Obviously, you're not going to be a step over. If someone attacks you, you're going to retaliate, and self-defense there. But it's not the first action you take, or it's not an action that you'll take in response, or not response. It's not an action you'll take initially, as in like, oh, this country's being mean, let's go attack it. No, it's like, it's being mean, that's fine, leave it alone. Or if the country attacks, then you defend yourself, of course. Um, but yeah, hopefully there's a belief in the nation that we as a nation, we as the people of this nation, will be good human beings, accepting of people, obviously to a certain degree, because you don't want to accept people who are harmful, as in physically harmful, who are pushing their religion, who are enforcing their views on other people, as opposed to, say, someone who comes in and says, they want to talk about, discuss it, and people join willingly. It's a bit of a different story. But much like any organization, or any kind of organization, whether it be religious or not, obviously, if the meaning behind the organization being peaceful changes over time, it can turn deadly. Has that ever happened? Well, I'm sure it has, especially religiously. I know Christianity wasn't a very big religion back in the day, and I wouldn't doubt they're pushing for peace until they became powerful and then started attacking. So I wouldn't doubt there's just many religion, or just organizations in general, whether it be religion or not, that it was originally peaceful and has been probably weaponized.
How do we deal with this, though?
So, you have set up the menu, but you're surprised when it gets served on your table. Why are you surprised? It is bound to happen. It's bound to happen. All this talk about just adjusting and, creating a little bit of peace here and there is not a solution. One fundamental thing that we should do in the next 25 years, if we are really concerned about the future of the world, because the day of the sword is over. Now it is a day of a deadly button which can do things that you can't imagine ever. Those kind of things it can do. Well, these deadly buttons are being spoken about on a regular basis these days in various places. So when this kind of capability is there, it's important in the next 25 years, we have to establish in the world, your religion is your personal pursuit, do whatever the hell you want. But it cannot be a national or global agenda. This must be set 100%. If we don't do this, we are not looking at just a few churches exploding or somebody shooting in the mosque or something else. You could have nations exploding into bits. It's a large part of humanity can go into bits because that's the kind of empowerment we have in terms of technology. It's not like you'll take your sword and kill 100 people. You're going to just take away millions at a time. So when this kind of empowerment is there, these kind of rudimentary beliefs, when I say rudimentary belief, I'm just saying, you believe something that you don't know. Let's understand the word belief first of all. I'll ask you a simple question, is it okay? Am I too abrasive for you? You said it's head talk. Suppose I ask you right now, how many of you believe you have two hands? Please raise one hand.
I don't believe, I know.
Do you believe you have two hands or do you know you have two hands?
I didn't know it was going to go there. I kind of figured maybe he would.
No. If I start an argument with you that you don't have two hands, and if my argument becomes too powerful, one slap in the face and you know you got hands. So with hands you know. There are so many things you believe. What does it mean? It simply means things that you do not know. You are not sincere enough to admit what I do not know as what I do not know. Because you've not understood the immensity of I do not know. Only when you see I do not know, the longing to know, the seeking to know and the possibility of knowing becomes a living reality. Otherwise, everything I do not know, I just assume. What is the point of that? The moment you assume, and you gather 1,000 people who assume the same things, and I assume something and I gather 10,000 people who assume the same thing, clash is inevitable, believe me.
But it's easier said than done to say, well, in the next 25 years we need to get out of this mindset.
Well, never before this was possible. Today we are sitting here just talking to 1,000 people, but you know that today we have means, what we speak here, we can make it reach the entire humanity. This was never ever possible. Many fantastic human beings have come, but what they could do was minimal, because when they spoke, hardly 10 people heard. Today you can sit here and speak to the entire world. When you have this capability, how come you say you cannot transform the world? We can. It is just that, are we committed to making it happen? I was just talking to somebody who was some kind of an expert on the internet. That's when I started going on YouTube and everything. This is about 12 years ago. I was talking to someone in United States who is some kind of an expert on the internet affairs. So I've never gone browsing or anything, I'm just busy with what I'm doing. So I just asked, what are people looking for hours on end there on this net? So he very casually says, Sadhguru, about 70% is pornography. I said, what? He says, yes. I didn't want to believe him. I said, this is not possible. It can't be 70%. Maybe some people are looking up something. But then I check with a few other people, everybody says 70% of data is pornography. And they tell me, every year some 1.2 million children below 15 years of age are being sold on internet.
Whoa.
What's wrong with us? I'm saying, when such a tremendous tool of technology comes to us, we want to sell our children? Is this how we use it? We want to change this. That's why I'm loud in the last 10 years, out on the internet.
Dang, I didn't know 1.2 million children were… Jeez.
Do you think, though, that technology is a good thing or a bad thing?
Very simple. Technology is a tool, much like any other tool, is neither good neither is it inherently good nor is it inherently bad. It is but a tool, and the person who uses it makes either whoever the person that uses it makes the tool bad or good. But the tool itself has it's not inherently good or bad. It cannot do anything except do what the user uses it for.
Technology is neither. The beautiful thing about technology is, if you learn to use it, it works for you. But who you are will decide how you use it, isn't it?
But how do you
So what we need to fix right now in the world is, who are we? This is what we need to fix. We've all become many things which we are not. Essentially, we are born as life on this planet. Rest of the things are taught to us, isn't it? Stop teaching all this stuff which makes us something other than human beings.
I mean, you can say this as Sadhguru, but how do you deal with a 15-year-old who spends 6–7 hours of their day on a phone, which then impacts their mental health, their state of mind?
See, being on the phone need not necessarily impact the mental health. But what is on the phone? That's a question, isn't it? Right now, at least in India, whatever they may be looking for pornography, but Sadhguru pops up. I'm telling you, I'm saying this with a certain glee, because you know, I'm just walking in Bangalore city. Some 12–13-year-old boys, from a bunch of them, they say, hey, Sadhguru, Sadhguru, and they come running. I said, hey, you idiots, how do you know who I am? They said, no, we watch your videos, Sadhguru. I said, what? Your mothers must be forcing you to watch my videos? They said, no, in our class, all of us are watching your videos. I really inquired, and I find in every school that I go to, at least 20–30% of the children are watching our videos. I'm telling you, when I was 15, nobody could ever get me to watch a goddamn spiritual video. All right? No way. But today, children are watching. So, this is a new and a fantastic development. So, phone is not the problem. what is the content you're putting on it and who is putting on it? Children are putting? No, adults are putting. Everything has become commerce. So children are playing video games, whatever, in India, some PUBG, what is it? Huh? Because I came to know about it because the Prime Minister mentioned this. See, it seems whatever, 2-3 hours a day, you're practicing how to kill this one, this one, this one and this one, okay? I'm shooting. When I am 12, 13, it may be okay. When I become 18, don't I want to get a little real? Huh? Am I happy just shooting them on my phone? I would like to really shoot them, please understand this. You think I will be satisfied just shooting people? When I think it's the right thing to do, whoever appears, I shoot them on the phone. You think my instinct of wanting to shoot people that I see will be satisfied just on the phone? You are living somewhere. It's not reality. So when we are putting our children through this and we think they are violent, they are wrong, no, this is the kind of content you're giving them. Can't we change the content to whatever extent we can?
Okay, I'm going to push back a little bit on Sadhguru, this one too, because this is something that's been said in America a lot, actually. In America, this is something they've been pushing, actually, which is they think that, violent video games make people violent. And so far, the scientific data has not proven that to be true. You can actually see kids, because I guess, and it's not what, mind you, this is 2019, it's not what's making people violent as the games. It's more along the lines of their social interactions, like when people are seen as outcasts from their groups of people. And I didn't say groups of friends, I said groups of people. So if your friend sees you an outcast, you can't make friends, and you start to hate people around you, that's where the mental health issue starts. When you're playing online on gaming and you're playing with other people and you're having fun with other people, even though you're shooting people, you're part of a group. You see your friends there. And you have friends that you can hang out with or play with and have fun with. You're not outcast. So you don't, because you do things in video games doesn't mean you want to do that in real life, because you realize you have friends in real life. Again, I'm not a psychologist expert. This is how I think it is. And they've said it a few times, and you can kind of see it in a lot of people, especially the people who have done these things, is that they tend to be outcasts from people in school. They do have some friends, but not a lot. And they tend to hate people. They tend to hate the people around them. So far, that's what they've noticed about the people who commit certain things. Because I believe they showed a kid who loves first-person shooters, and they put him in front of a real gun and was very scared. He didn't want to touch a gun. Because there is a distinction between, obviously, fantasy and real life. And the argument I would give, if this is true, say violent video games, is violent movies as well. Because if you're sitting watching violent movies, you see that's like, oh my gosh, that's what I want to do. Because we kind of look up to the movies, and sometimes movies can be examples for us in real life, like video games. And then are we going to stop doing violent movies too, where there's no movies where there's any kind of conflict, because it could, in some chance, change a person? I don't believe it's necessarily the violent video games or violent movies or violent anything. I think it's more whether they are accepted in a group of friends that they can at least have fun with. But if they're constantly looked at as an outcast and constantly being hated on, per se, and eventually that will steep. Now, there are people out there who did feel this way, who grown up and learned to better themselves. They've worked on themselves, they bettered themselves, and they became really good people and later on in life. But then you also have these people who didn't quite turn out that way, and clearly they made the news in a bad way.
I mean, but there are a lot of studies that have been done that the internet is causing a lot of angst for young people.
See, these studies goes on about everything. What is not causing angst, tell me? Everything is. And the studies keep changing all the time. Yes, there is some kind of impact of a screen time because of the type of light it emits. People lose their ability, because they're going on this late night, they cannot sleep properly. Because they cannot sleep properly, next day morning there are many troubles. All these things are rolling up. Today in United States, they have technology de-addiction centers where like AA or something, they have technology de-addiction centers where people go there and it's a big thing that you can live without a phone. It's a huge achievement that you kept your phone away for whatever number of days. So, technology is not the problem. Compulsiveness is the problem, isn't it? If you're compulsive, even the food that you eat, if you eat compulsively, won't you get sick? So for compulsiveness, there's only one cure, consciousness. There is simply no other cure. You can make adjustments. Can I say a joke? Is it okay?
Please, of course.
And he's right. Yes, absolutely. It's addiction, compulsiveness, addiction. Maybe they're one and the same. But if you're addicted to your phone, addicted to the internet, addicted to pornography, addicted to food, addicted to drinks, addicted to smoking, all these things, kind of an addiction is really kind of bad. So any of these things are not necessarily bad. Again, it's all within a, what do you call it? Not a time frame, but there's a word I used to say. All within. I can't remember what the word is, but basically, water is bad for you. If you drink a lot of it, you will die from water. It's all. If you eat a lot of food, you will die from eating too much. I think even sleeping too much, you eat. Not getting enough, staying awake will, eat. Did I say eat? Sleeping and not sleeping will get you killed too. Just an excess, too much, is bad for you. Moderation, that's the word I was looking for. How could I not think of that? All things in moderation is the way to do it. So it doesn't matter what it is. Any kind of moderation is okay. But whenever it goes to addiction, to compulsion, to excessiveness of it, that's when it becomes a problem.
On a certain day, an office colleague, a young woman, asked Shankaran Pillai that if she could get a lift in his car. So, he took her in the car and he was driving. When it got a little lonely part of the road, he pulled the car aside and he suddenly became like an octopus. That is, his limbs were all over her. She pushed him away and said, "You fool, what are you trying to do? I thought you were a decent fellow and I came with you." He said, "I'm sorry, I quit smoking."
Then tell us, how do we get to a point of consciousness then? How do we not take our impulse from smoking to something else?
See, we are misunderstanding consciousness as just mental alertness. Mental alertness will help you to survive better. Consciousness is not about that. See, you know that you exist right now only because you're conscious, isn't it? You are conscious right now. That's why you know that you're here. Suppose you fell asleep. You don't know that you exist, isn't it? You don't know the world exists, nor do you know that you exist, simply because you're somewhat unconscious. Does it mean to say you're completely unconscious? No, you're still conscious when you're sleeping, but not conscious enough to notice the presence of many things. So consciousness is not whether it is present or absent, it is always there. The question is only the intensity and the volume of it. If we have to use an analogy, right now see, the lights are focused on us, so both of us are clearly seen. There are people hiding in darkness. Suppose you dim the light further, all these people will disappear, only two of us will be there. If you increase the voltage, suddenly they will all appear. They were always here. They were here all the time. Because the lights were dimmed, I could only see you and nobody else. If the lights were up, then you could see. This is all consciousness is. Everybody is conscious. Question is how conscious. So to increase or to raise consciousness, what have we done in the societies? Our entire education system is just about survival, one being better than the other. How can you be conscious when you're competitive? When all you want to do is be better than somebody. Your only joy is other people's failures. How will you be conscious? When you're enjoying other people's sufferings, other people's failures, this is what being number one means. I'm the number one means what? You're number 10. That's my joy. So I think this is sickness. From kindergarten, you're spreading this sickness into children and you expect them to be fantastic. It won't work like that.
So do we need to change our system?
I'm going to pause it right there, actually. That'll be a great spot for the next question. But that's an interesting way. Like, how do we... I wish prior Sadhguru does have this. I mean, he does talk about it, like, in certain schools. I believe the schools that he's involved with, there is a certain time frame of spirituality in there. I just don't know what it is. I don't know what he teaches. It'd be very interesting because this is something that, like she talked about, how do you teach your kids how not to sit in the phone, or just watch internet stuff? That is very worrisome, I never... I grew up in a time where there was no internet. I mean, internet existed, I'm sure, but it was all government purpose. It wasn't really out in the public. Was I there before the internet was born? I don't remember. I don't know. I was there before it was, for the public, when it first arose. But had that 56K modem, baby. They get 56K down, though. Got 4 kilobytes down. Though 2 to 1 kilobyte down per second. Anyways, I didn't believe T1 lines existed back in the day too, where you get 1 megabyte down. I thought it was impossible. It's like, no way, that doesn't exist. 1 megabyte down per second? Are you kidding me? No, never possible. Freaking downloading 1 terabyte, not terabyte, 1 gigabyte per second. Boy, has time changed. But yeah. Kids nowadays, or even young adults, really, we're all on the internet. It is something that I believe to be mandatory, but the problem is the understanding of the consumption that these young kids and children and young adults are all consuming. You can see it's very much egotistical in a lot of sense. They see these people, how they live their lives, how they're glorious, how they're going in yachts, how they're eating fancy food, and like, I want that. I look at that, I'm like, I want to do that. It's not that I want that, I want to do that, but I'm not like sitting there saying like I deserve this or anything like that. Not absolutely. But at the same time, like I'm fine without having to do all that, like eating steak with gold wrapping. I don't know if I want to do that actually. Don't want to poop out gold. I might have to scrape that off the. That's nasty, but it's like I'll do it before I like roll it up before I eat the steak or whatever. It's like I gotta go sell this. I need to make some money back. But I actually probably pay more for the gold than the steak. Anyways, but yeah, you have some ridiculous stuff that goes on the social medias and stuff, and a lot of people look at that as the norm and not the exception to the rule. Because social media obviously shows us many perspectives and many cultures and many different lives, which is a great thing. Honestly, we finally get the you don't have to leave your house to go see what it's like in America or China or India or Africa or Europe or in Hawaii, the little lone island back there. But at the same time, if you use this internet tool or the social media tools for just bad things, well, not bad things, it's not inherently bad, but if you look at it in the sense of that's I deserve this and I want this, there's nothing wrong with wanting, but if you believe you deserve something, I think that becomes a problem. Want you can achieve, deserve means you don't have to achieve it. It is something that should be given to you. At least that's how I define deserve and want, because you can want a lot of things. You can want water too. Doesn't mean it's a bad thing. Wanting stuff is not bad. That doesn't mean that you earned it, or doesn't mean that you own it. It means that you want it, and how you're going to achieve it will be varied. Whereas when you say you deserve something, it means you don't have to earn it. In my opinion. That's why I don't like using the word deserve. Don't get me wrong. I think there can be some things you can argue for that you deserve, but I think it's better if you argue for that you've earned. Earned and deserved are very different. Deserve, you can say that right away. You can go somewhere and say I deserve something, But to say that you earn something usually means that you have done something for a long enough time that you believe that you've earned a right for something. Deserve is something that you, whether you've done something or not, you believe that you deserve it. So I like to separate those words, and hopefully people use the word earn as opposed to deserve. But yeah, how do you convert? How do you tell these children to stop watching garbage on YouTube? But I don't like to say garbage either, because entertainment is great. It's something to enjoy. Movies are entertainment. They're not on social media entertainment, but there are entertainment. Games are entertainment. I don't think there's anything inherently wrong with these things. It's just a matter of how much you consume and how you interpret this entertainment. You can watch a movie and believe you deserve to be the rich guy in the movie. You can watch a video. You can play a video game and believe that you want to be the hero or the villain. It all depends. And then the same thing with the YouTube content that you consume. You know, you can see these rich people having lavish lives and whatnot, and say, "I deserve this." But you know, that's very toxic. Is toxic the right word? I guess so. It's very. I guess toxic is the right word, because you know your body can handle a certain amount of toxicity, but it can become overwhelming. So, and also again, even consuming anything, you know, it could be non toxic to you. Um, hmm. Anyways, it could be non-toxic to you, and because of how you consume that. Like you look at it and say, "Oh, that's pretty cool. That's very nice of them." You know, I don't have to. I don't believe I deserve this or anything. They've earned it, hopefully, and I don't really want that anyway. You know, I don't want a yacht. I don't want that golden steak pooping out gold. You know, you don't. There's certain things and ways you can. How you interpret the social media that you consume. You can say, "Oh man, this person's rich and eating gold steaks. I want to be like him. I need to be successful. I need to better my life. I need to do better." You could look at it that way instead of looking like I deserve this. You can earn it. So it's all a matter of how you consume the content, really, which is all an individual, which was Sadhguru was talking about. Anyways, that's part one of this this video. If you like more content, please consider subscribing, thumbs up, the sound down below. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video.